one thing I find interesting is, with the number of European players coming from other countries, more American players. I mean, the Canadian representation, especially the French Canadian representation in hockey, is not where it was certainly in the 70s and 80s, even into the 90s. Now you have 3 French Canadian coaches that are coaching in the finals here. And what does that say about hockey and the state of hockey in Canada, or does it say nothing and we're just looking at something that doesn't really matter?
I don't know if it matters at all. I think Canadians are disappointed because, California had 3 teams in the playoffs, and what Canada had, 2?
Yeah.
So they were more represented than the Canadians were. I don't know. I'd have to check that stat about the U.S. and Canadians. There's still quite a few Canadians.
Oh no, there still are, but the numbers have declined a little bit, and naturally because so many Europeans, there are only so many slots in hockey. I mean, there are more teams, but in terms of the percentage of Europeans, which, as we all know, has gone up, a great deal over the last 10, 15, 20 years. And because of that, and certainly there are fewer French Canadians than there were percentage-wise in hockey in a long time.
Yeah,
so I found it interesting that 3 of these 4 coaches are French Canadian coaches coaching, in Tampa Bay, Boston, and in Vancouver. What's that?
Michael, it was funny during the Montreal-Boston series.
Yeah.
We were talking about the Canadians versus the Americans, but the Bruins had 1 U.S. guy on the team. The Canadians had 5 Americans on the team. So it was just a role reversal for sure.
Totally. And Montreal was always a team that, even not just because they were the Montreal Canadiens, it wasn't like written into their bylaws, but they always seemed to have a greater number of French Canadians than any of the other teams, even at a time when there were French Canadians everywhere, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, back in the day, they used to get the top French Canadian player of the Quebec League each year, and then it changed in the early 70s.
And that was a rule? That was...
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It changed the year Marcel Dion and Guy Lafleur were both taken.
Yeah.
Because if it didn't change, they both would have played for Montreal.
Oh, that's so interesting. That's great.
Yeah.
As it turned out, Guy did pretty well there. Did you play with Guy Lafleur on the Rangers?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That was his first comeback year. Yeah.
Right.
All right, Dave. The Washington Capitals had 107 points this year, obviously second best behind Vancouver. Bruce Boudreau got them to the second round, and they got swept by your Tampa Bay Lightning. Do you think he deserves the axe after this year?
You know what? Usually when coaches get, there's a coaching change, there's a lot of good things will always happen. I think Boudreau's done a good job, and actually George McPhee, the GM there, he said, like he just said, most coaching changes don't really have that huge effect. I think they had a really good season. They had a lull in the fall where they went from first to losing, I don't know what it was, 10 or 11 games in a row. But, whenever you don't, make it in the playoffs, it's a coach that's going to be the one to blame. I was shocked because I thought Washington was going to win the whole thing this year. That's what I was telling people they were my pick. Ovechkin, I just think he's just a wonderful player. Hopefully he does win one time because he gives it 100% each time. To replace Boudreau, I'm not sure if that's the best. You'd have to have a good coach to replace him. And I'm actually my career, because I'm probably the wrong person to ask about coaching, because I don't think I had a good coach my whole career. So I don't know which one. I don't know which one is.
Who was the best coach you played for?
That's a tough question. Brian Sutter was a motivator. X's and O's, he was horrible. Roger Nielsen was probably the best X's and O's, but he was probably the worst communicator. But I honestly didn't really have a good one. And my first 4 years was Michel Bergeron, and he was just spicy, and he didn't really know what was going on. And Terry Crisp, I didn't get along with in Tampa, so I guess Roger Nielsen by default.
By default is the best coach you played for. And that's 700 some odd games. That's a lot of coaching.